Hey everybody, welcome back into another edition of Rapid Recap. He's Steve Marik and he's Greg Smith, and I'm Zack Carpenter. We're doing the point. We're here at Memorial Stadium, 6th floor, after the Huskers completed spring ball, 15th and final practice technically today with the red and white spring game. This is the spring ball finale. For what it's worth, the white team beat the red team 21-7. I'm 99% sure that the white team beat the red team 21-7. As I was saying that, score doesn't really matter. But what does matter is we saw an actual game today. I don't know. I think it looked like kind of what we anticipated. I don't know if that's what you guys felt.
Yeah, there was a lot of. I guess it's hard to ignore the mistakes, right? I mean, four fumbles for each offense. That's not going to make Rhule and Marcus Satterfield happy at all. But there were some highs and lows from the game, some good things that we can talk about, some bad things to talk about. I thought Jeff Sims looked pretty good. That's really good. Gabe Ervin Jr. at running back looked awesome. His stiff arm of Omar Brown, safety trying to stop him, was really impressive. The thing that I'm going to come away with, and you can read about it Inside Nebraska, is the new faces on the defensive line kind of stood out to me. They flashed today, and I thought that was really cool. Prince Will Umanyalan, Cam Lenhart were out there with the first-team defense. Those are two early enrollee true freshmen, which is super impressive, and they're in the backfield a lot and doing a lot of good things. Maverick Noonan had a couple of plays. He flashed. Elijah Judy is another new face, not a true freshman. He spent first 2 seasons at Texas A&M, but he's going to be a big part of the interior defensive line at Nebraska, and he had five tackles, I believe, and was doing some good things against the first-team offensive line, which, it's hard to talk about too much with them because you'd like to go back, rewatch the game, try to focus on those guys because offensive line play is kind of hard to determine if you're just like watching it. It's kind of different when you can see guys get in the backfield on defensive line. But, I'm coming away with a lot of hope and, I guess, really impressed with those true freshmen on the defensive line, namely Prince Will Umanyalan and Cam Lenhart.
Yeah. And Greg, before you go, I have to take a little mini victory lap when talking about Jeff Sims having that leg up now in the starting quarterback job. I mean, I don't think he looked transcendent by any means, but I thought he looked like you said pretty good.
Threw some good balls.
Yeah. Gabe Ervin Jr. when I talked about him, he has a pretty good shot at winning that starting running back job, and it's not like anything on the depth chart is going to be decided in spring ball, but I think he's continuing to make that case. And then writing about Cam Lenhart, especially Prince Will Umanyalan, how they have a chance to see the field as true freshmen in significant roles, see significant snaps. And it's not like all of that, again, is decided now suddenly just because they all had really good spring games, but I think they're taking those next steps toward potentially having that success in the fall.
Yeah, and I think that when we talk about those two young pups getting out there and at least being competent, it's not even to me, yes, I thought they did play pretty well, but for them to even be as true freshmen, early enrollees out there rolling with the ones and looking like they belong, I think that that's a huge deal and shows a lot about their future promise. It also, we've gone this long talking about the defensive line, and A.J. Rollins was a guy also that had some nice plays, batted down a couple of balls, but all of that and those new pieces, it had to be put together by somebody, right? Terrence Knighton should get a little hat tip in some of this for that early development. But I want to jump back a little bit because we jumped right into the game stuff. I wrote my snap judgments kind of right after the game snap reactions. The vibes, man, the vibes were immaculate to start the game. And I think it's something I don't want to say we take for granted here, but we kind of do at the same time, is that not everybody's spring game was like this, right? And so when you have 60,000 people buy tickets to a spring game, you've got the Go Big Red chants going before the game. And, of course, they unveiled the new but old Herbie comes out on a motorcycle. He got the biggest pop of the night of anybody. He had a lot of recruits in the house. Then the Frank Solich deal at halftime. He gets emotional when he found out that the locker room was going to be named after him in the new building. There are a lot of really cool things that went into Matt Rhule's first spring game as Nebraska head coach. I don't want us to skip over because it was a really cool event all around.
I think today was the perfect cap to a really momentum building offseason for the Nebraska football program. Obviously, it's a new hire vibe, I guess. Every time you get a new hire, people are excited, fans are excited, but it's different at Nebraska, and it's different right now because I think, at least from my point of view, fans are kind of seeing the difference between the old staff and this staff. When pretty much everything.
It feels like we turned the page today.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of thinking that when we were pregame and like just thinking about all the subtle differences going on, like that people see and the stuff kind of behind the scenes that we see when it comes to just how we do stuff on a day-to-day basis and operate around the program now. Like it feels a lot different now. Like it really does.
I mean, speaking of turning that page, that's kind of what comes to mind when we're talking about the Solich halftime ceremony. Just the fact that they brought him back.
Yep.
That he wanted to come back. Like,
it felt like that entire situation of getting him back and then him even having the press conference on Friday and then talking for a brief minute today at the ceremony. It's just all I think it all kind of symbolizes, and we've talked about this before, just that next not next step, but just another, I guess, exemplary point, data point of their welcoming welcoming former coaches and former players back in the building. And it feels like sort of like a not washing of the sins, but he said,
he said the curse is broken.
Yeah.
He said that.
He was a good sport about that.
Yeah, he was a really good sport about that because, man, that's been a talking point around here for quite a while. One thing, too, though, back to the actual game is that, we talk about those turnovers and especially the fumbles, right? I think that one of the things, though, that can be a good thing about that happening is that you got to get that out of the way in the spring game because it was live, right? Like maybe you don't get those kind of kinks ironed out until maybe later in the fall if you had not gone live, as much as they did and during the spring game. So that's one thing I kind of took away.
So it's like getting chicken pox as a kid. Just
go ahead and get it out of the way. Hey, it's on tape, and they're going. How much these guys are going to hear about those fumbles over the summer and then into the fall. Like it's on tape.
I'll be interested to see how big of a deal people make the fumbles because I'm not worried about them all at all.
Rhule is going to. I mean, Rhule is going to make a big
different
deal.
Story for sure. Rhule and Satterfield, they absolutely cannot stand. It's kind of hilarious watching them talk about fumbles. But me personally, just from watching everything, it was a 15th practice. It's a whole bunch of new guys playing inside a packed-ish Memorial Stadium for the first time. I just don't think we're going to see that many fumbles, that many sloppiness on offense at Minnesota.
Yeah, Ethan Piper actually was asked about that in postgame. He was kind of down the hallway, and he actually made a really good point to back up what you were saying, is that there were a lot of combinations being put together out there that had not practiced together before. So that also makes sense. I'm not saying that you want to totally excuse it because you just don't want to see that, but there are some reasons that you could say why that happened.
And then last thing to sort of wrap up here, I want to look at next steps. I mean, we don't have to dive too far into it because we are going to be talking about this a little more tomorrow and Monday as we sort of take a look back at spring ball as a whole. But they have exit meetings now coming up over the next week. Sure, they're going to be meeting with every single player, or at least just about every single player on the roster for an honest assessment about where they stand, what's expected of them in the summer. And Jeff Sims, he talked about those next steps, and he talked about the fact that he thinks that we need to kick it up a notch. We need to take it up a notch is what he said. And he said, I think we have a chance to have a very special season, like right now. He's sort of echoing that sentiment that Rhule said, that we're not here to lose and thank the fans. We're here to win now. And he said some other things in his press conference that you can go read at nebraska.rivals.com that I wrote about after the game. But just open the floor for any thoughts, any exit thoughts as we go into this next week that could get there could be some hurt feelings around here.
That's exactly what I was thinking, is that it's going to get real quickly when it comes to these exit meetings, right? Because we know the scholarship situation. They've got to shed double-digit scholarships before we get kind of to that first game. So that's going to begin now. Like if the transfer portal window is open, like I expect Nebraska to have multiple people that go in after these exit meetings. And so for all the good vibes that have been around the program and Matt Rhule doing and saying so many of the right things, there's that kind of, and I don't even want to make it sound like it's a negative towards him, but it's just kind of the unfortunate reality of where they are. They're going to have some people leave the program, and that's what's coming up next for me.
Yeah, it's almost like, you have in your head an image of what this team looks like, and tomorrow it could look completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to look different at Minnesota in late August. So,
and people are coming back. Like, remember that, too. I was thinking about when you said that about
Ty
the offensive line. When you mentioned the offensive line, Teddy Prohaska's not out there. You're going to have people kind of shuffled around. Ty Robinson, I'm now really excited to see him on this defensive line.
I was really excited, and I was writing about Cam Lenhart, who was playing a lot on the interior, which caught my eye. But then you think, well, Ty Robinson's coming back in the fall. Ty Robinson's an old, strong player. He's probably going to bite into some of Cam Lenhart's reps.
Yeah, but him being as even a rotational piece as a true freshman on the defensive line is a hell of an accomplishment, man.
It's fun to think about. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, along the lines of it's going to be different now from what we see later. I mean, that kind of is what stuck out to me when I, on the very first play of the first series, took a screenshot of the game that I was recording to check and see who was the starting 11 on offense, who was starting 11 on defense. And you see Prince William Yellen, Cam Lenhart, Nash Hutmacher, who we definitely believe will be on that starting line, and then MJ Sherman and Prince Will as traditional defensive ends on either side. And then you had Miles Farmer not with the ones. You had Corey Collier starting.
Corey Collier was
Omar Brown, that's not much as a surprise.
Omar
but
had some nice plays.
Big surprise, not big, but kind of, is John Bullock and Jamari Butler as the two starting inside linebackers. And just when you say that, like, it'll obviously look a lot different. I'm like, when I saw that.
Keep that in mind.
I'm seeing that screenshot in my mind of, like, okay, is that just grainy? Does that say 35? Okay, all right. Does that say 10 next to him? Like, so who knows if that might be in starting defense in the fall.
Who knows? It's a spring game after all.
Right.
Yeah, the spring game, we love it though. It means everything.
We saw football.
It means everything to us.
We saw hitting. We saw hitting. I'm happy.
MJ Sherman. Last thing is just in his press conference. I mean, he's a very I feel like serious and reflective person. He's very good in press conference settings, but I feel like he's always very serious and intense is the best word to describe it. And just seeing him, he's like lighting up, smiling, saying it's the most fun he's ever had in spring ball. I kind of did a double take when I saw that. Like, all right, so things were fun but brutal around here, I guess.
Good.
Anything else to hit on before we get out of here?
No.
No.
Now we're thinking about the transfers. Like now, I'm thinking now about what's about to come next.
Yeah.
Those transfers. Yeah.
You guys just like no.
No.
Steve has been grinding away over here. I mean, me and Greg haven't, but Steve.
No, I'm just floating around.
You guys have been grinding as well. I don't know.
Oh my God, I'm tired. I'm so tired right now. I almost started yawning in the middle of the recording. Yeah. So with that, we're gonna get out of here. Please like and subscribe to the Inside Nebraska YouTube channel. Nebraska.rivals.com is for our written content. We have a 30-day free trial going right now. Don't know how long I'm going to keep that up, but probably not very long if I'm being honest. So go try to take advantage of that as transfer portal news is coming around the corner. A lot more coverage from spring game and spring ball as a whole. So for Steve Marik, Greg Smith.
I almost pointed.
I wanted to do the dance.
No.
I'm Zack Carpenter, and we'll catch you guys again next time.